Hello, my name is Jamie Packer, and this is my presentation on fish biodiversity in Michigan rivers versus Michigan inland lakes. Some thoughts that I had before choosing this topic were that small inland lakes are cut off from migration species. The rivers connected to Lake Michigan, however, allow for species to migrate between the large body of water and into these smaller river systems. This allowed me to come up with my hypothesis that Michigan river systems have more biodiversity than the smaller cut-off inland Michigan lakes. Some research was also done on the St. Joseph River, less than 5 miles upriver, near the opening into the Lake Michigan. And then my lake was Lake Cora, which is an average-sized Michigan lake. To study differences in population characteristics, I chose to do walleye girths. This hypothesis was that walleye in the St. Joseph River will have larger girths than those found in Lake Cora. I thought this because they have a larger ecosystem in the river and therefore more opportunities to find food sources. A little bit more about my study areas. The St. Joseph River, which is the dark blue line in the map, it is considered a large river system which flows out of the southeast of Lake Michigan. It is very well known for its trout and salmon runs, and it also is known to have bait fish such as alewives and many more species. Just to name a few are some freshwater drums, perch, walleye, catfish, bass, northern pike, gar, and sturgeon. The Lake Cora is denoted by the black square. It's considered an average-sized Michigan lake, and it's located in Van Buren County. Some species in this lake include crappie, bluegill, perch, bass, walleye, northern pike, and bullhead catfish. The methods that I used for catching the fish. I used a gold hook with one nightcrawler worm with one split shot number 4 weight, which was placed roughly 12 to 18 inches above the hook, and this helped keep the bait down into the water column so it didn't float on top. And I denoted these with the arrows and the picture on the right. Line was then cast behind the boat, and the rod was placed into the rod holder, which just kept it onto the boat without moving it too much. And our speed, we maintained it with just the current of the river, which was approximately 3 knots. We used a trolling motor to help us stay in the middle of the river so we didn't hit the down trees on the side or get too far off track. And we also used the trolling motor to simulate the speed that we had on the river because we didn't have currents on the lake. Once the fish were caught, the species were recorded in a notebook. The richness and evenness. The richness was that we found 6 species on the St. Joseph River and only 5 species were caught on Lake Cora. Lake Cora had a higher number of evenness at 0.88 compared to St. Joseph River's 0.72. This indicated that the river had fewer dominant species. The differences in population characteristics. I caught 10 walleye on the river as well as 10 walleye on the lake, and we then compared the girths. We measured their girths with a piece of rope that was wrapped in front of their spiny dorsal fin, behind their pectoral fins, and in front of their pelvic fins. And then the rope was laid flat against a meter stick, and their girths or lengths were recorded in inches. Here are some data from the biodiversity part of my presentation. You can see that Lake Cora had a higher Shannon index their sample sizes, their richness and evenness data, and so forth. The discussion and results of this data. There were more species caught on the St. Joseph River than were caught on Lake Cora. This represented a greater biodiversity, while Lake Cora still had a larger sample mean. The river had a nearly twice as large sample variance than the lake, showing that the river's data were much larger spread out, while their standard deviations were closer, representing that the lake data is more closely related to the mean. Some possible reasons for these results that I came up with are that smaller species may have not been able to fit the entire worm or the hook into their mouth, and therefore could not have been caught and counted. Larger species, however, may have not been interested at all in a single worm, and are rather eating larger prey, such as other fish, and again, not having been caught and counted. Not all the fish that were hooked made it to the boat to be identified and counted. We lost a few, and this may have decreased our species counts. Lake Cora has a greater depth difference, which were not reached, where possible species could be hiding, as well as in the St. Joseph River, many down trees and other debris were out where our bait was not able to reach, allowed other species and fish to hide, and again, not caught and counted. This is my data for the differences in walleye characteristics. 10 walleye were caught on the St. Joseph River and 10 walleye were caught in the Lake Cora, as I've previously stated. Overall, the walleyes caught on the river had an average girth larger than those caught in the lake. Though there is a difference, it is not shown to be considered significant. The river also had a slightly higher degree of variability in girths. However, variability in lengths were seen greater in the lake. And to conclude, I included some pictures of the species that were caught, as well as the measuring technique of the walleye to measure their girths. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.